Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am very excited to hang out with you today. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my 5-star reads. I'm going to be talking about my most favorite books, like my top tier books that I'm always thinking about. My last video that I uploaded was my 5-star predictions, and then I had me thinking, I've never even made a video talk about my 5-star reads. I have 5 physical books here, and then I have the other one is on Kindle Unlimited. So let's get started. For the first book, I am very excited to talk about this book because I have never talked about it on my channel. This is actually my first ever 5-star read. I read this book before I was even in the hobby of reading. The first book is Rabbit by Patricia Williams, aka Miss Pat. This is a autobiography, memoir, what is the difference between a memoir and autobiography? Memoir, they wrote it themselves, and autobiography, someone else wrote it for them, I think. Now, I unfortunately can't even remember if it was my stepdad or my mom who gave me this book. I think it was my stepdad. Either way, I can't remember who it was, but I'm gonna give credit to the both of them. They told me to read this book. I absolutely fell in love with this book. It was, and it is, very easy to read, so it wasn't hard for me at the time, a non-reader, to like get into. Did that make sense? Like, I wasn't a reader back then, but this book just flows and just grabs your attention immediately, that I was able to devour this story. Not only once did I read it, I read it twice. I read it my sophomore year and then again the next year, my junior year. And it just had me think, like, I need to read it again. I can remember almost everything, like, that's in the story, but I loved the story so much that it makes me want to read it again, and I'm thinking about doing a reading vlog. I have never heard anyone talk about this book, and this book just, it deserves more attention. She is a comedian, literally, like, she's a comedian, and her story is written in that comedian like aspect, and you definitely have to search up trigger warnings because she definitely talks about very hard topics, but she says it in such a hilarious way. Oh, like 5 stars, man. Like, when I think of 5 stars, when I think about a book that I just love so much, I think about Rabbit. I think about Miss Pat. This book talks about her childhood, all of the hardships that she went through with her mother, with her siblings, growing up poor, what she had to do to survive, the horrific stories that she had went through, but she makes it funny. A lot of people deal with the trauma in like making jokes and stuff, and some people can say that's unhealthy, but she explains it as, if you can joke about it, that means that you have control of it, and in a way you've gotten past it. And oh man, I read it over 5 years ago and I'm still obsessed with it to this day, and I just want to read it again. For the second book ever, like my second favorite book ever, is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. It has time travel. It follows a woman who is going through a lot of hardships in life. When I read this book, it was such a beautiful experience, like 10 out of 10 experience. I like stayed up late just to finish it. Like, it was a page turner. It literally had me like this, like with the plot twists and things. I was just like yeah, like that. This book has a special place in my heart. It definitely does. I read it in a very vulnerable time in my life, and I think that's why I also feel really connected to this story, but also because it was just such a beautiful story. I've never ever read a book like this. This book, I read it 2 years ago now, I believe, and it stays on my high. Like, whenever people ask for a recommendation, I always tell them The Midnight Library. I honestly don't even hear enough people talk about it. Whenever they do, I get super excited because I feel like it doesn't get the hype that it deserves. Like, I feel like it's underrated in a way, and maybe I was late to it and maybe I didn't see when it was really hyped up, but even now I feel like it's just not talked about enough, and I'm literally hugging it. Like, I love this book so much. It's just very good. Like, it almost felt like a therapy book. I remember feeling like I didn't need therapy anymore after I read this book. So I need to read it again. Then to The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I read this book in December and I ended off the year with a bang. I read 25 Years I read 25 books in January, and this was one of the last books I read of the year, and it was by far like one of my favorite stories. This is a historical fiction, which made me also fall in love with that genre. It is based in the 1950s, goes into the 80s. Evelyn Hugo decides to tell a up-and-coming writer, Monique Grant, about all of her 7 husbands and everything in between. I remember sitting on the couch when Jane left to work, and then when he came back from work, I was still sitting on the couch reading this book. Not that many books can make me feel like that. Now to the book that is on Kindle Unlimited, which is A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I have never had a book actually make me sob, like not just crying, like not just tears, just, you know, no, like this was, I was sobbing. I was crying so hard. It is actually a YA, and it's actually the only YA that I'm actually going to be talking about. It is so good. I'm recommending it to my sister. I'm actually going to buy the book and give it to her because that's how much I loved it, and I just want her to experience what I experienced. It really hit home to me as well. Something that happened in the book I was able to relate to. I can't even remember his name, but the girl's name, the main character in the book, her name is Poppy, and he's from a different country, so he has a little bit of an accent. So instead of saying like my Poppy, he says Poppy mine. And like when I get flashbacks of that book, I'm literally just on the couch just going, Poppy mine. And Jay's probably like, what are you talking about? I remember my mom was in town and she was staying with me, and she heard me crying, sobbing in my room, and she goes, Yarisa, are you okay? And I was like, yes, this book. And she goes, oh my god, like low-key judging me, and I was like, wow, you don't understand this book. Why do I like books that make me cry? I don't know. I like books. Obviously. I love the freaking book. Now to Tomorrow by Gabriella Zevin. I'm in love with these books. I truly am. Like, I have this feeling in my chest right now just talking about these books. I started off the year, I think it was the second book that I read into the year, so I started off 2023 with a freaking bang. There's a reason that this is like one of the most popular books in 2022. This book deserves every ounce of hype that it gets. I am just so in love with this book. It is just so good. Once again, it was a page turner. I was able to just sit on the couch for hours and just devour the story. It is a literary fiction. It is about 3 characters. It is character driven, which I actually thought that I wasn't that big of a fan of, but I really enjoyed it in this book. It talks a lot about like mental health. It has definitely some triggers, so definitely search up the trigger warnings for this book. It literally says it perfectly. Like, it is a love story. Yes, it is a love story, but it's not one you have read before, and that's exactly true. I love the cover, so freaking beautiful. Now to A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This book is a like suspense thriller. It is eerie, it is a mystery. Very, very good. Once again, it was a page turner. Stacey's writing is so good. Like, by the first page, I knew I was going to like this book. And it's actually signed by Miss Stacey herself. I found this book in a mini library. Steel, like gold. I am so happy that I read this book, and once again, I actually haven't heard that many people talk about this book, and it deserves more hype. Usually I can guess a plot twist with books, and I did not with this one. It definitely kept me on my toes. Okay, so I literally ended the video, and then I realized I cannot make this video and not talk about these 2 books. The first book is Digging Up Mother by Doug Stanhope, and that book is a 5-star. That book made me tear up and made me laugh out loud. He is a comedian, so you probably have heard of him, and he wrote a memoir called Digging Up Mother, and then he also wrote another book called This Is Not Fame, which I have not read, but I am very excited to read because I really enjoyed reading Digging Up Mother. It says on the cover, it is truly a love story, and that's exactly it. It is so funny. It talks about the journey of growing up and basically like the journey of becoming the person that he is now and succeeding as a comedian and all of the crazy things that he went through in life to get to where he is now, and traveling all around the country with like $2 to his name. And it was so good. I remember when I was reading it in bed, I literally woke up Jaden from my laughing because I could not keep it in. It is so freaking funny. Okay, so for whatever reason, I feel just a little hesitant to like say it's a 5-star, so we're gonna say it's just like an honorable mention. It just feels wrong to not talk about this book, which is Into the Wild by John Crocker. If you have never seen the movie Into the Wild, I highly recommend. I fell in love with that movie, and when I heard that this was based off of a true story and it was also based off of the book, I knew that I had to read the book. And I am very happy that I read this book. It says, in April 1992, a young man from a well-to-do family hitchhiked to Alaska and walked alone into the wilderness north of Mount McKinley. His name was Christopher Johnson McCandles. He had given $25,000 in savings to charity, abandoned his car and most of his possessions, burned all the cash in his wallet, and invented a new life for himself. 4 months later, his decomposed body was found by a moose hunter. This book, I just hold it very close to my heart. I feel very passionate about his story, and I just think that the story is very heartbreaking yet very beautiful. I love it. I love it so much, and I've never had a book make me feel this way. I literally had to jump back right in and mention it because it just felt wrong to not talk about it in my 5-star reads. So now that is all of the books that are a 5-star read. So that is 8 5-star reads. I also have so much fun sharing all these books with you. It's that much more fun when you fall in love with the book, but when you're able to share it with people, it's that much more fun and fulfilling and just beautiful. And I am very happy that I was able to share these books with you. If you like this type of video, I have more book content on my channel, and I also make vlogs, so definitely go check that out. It feels weird to like say that, I don't know, but thank you so very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.